So no disconnect on the outside of the house. Follow the conduit down. Open up the side cover. It's like a really old Lennox unit. And the compressor is extremely hot. Like, it's been trying to start, not starting. Condensing fan motor also not running. So we're going to be checking these capacitors. But there's no disconnect. I saw this switch, however. And check this out. Power from the house comes into this switch. And then it goes down onto the bottom side of the contactor. It's a really old style contactor. Still working, still putting full voltage through. But that's literally the disconnect, which is actually pretty cool. So what we're going to do is check these capacitors, cool this thing down. Hopefully it's just a capacitor and the compressor will start, but otherwise this thing might be toast. So this is a really old made in USA capacitor. It is a 35 microfarad 370 volt. Pop these wires off the terminals. Interesting how it had a ground on there as well. They don't have that anymore. So I'll just switch our meter into the search mode. Look at that, 34.21. So capacitor is still good. It's huge. It looks like an old like MRE tin can or something. Filter guard they've got in here. Micro guard. It uses king valves. Like legit ones. That's the capacitor bracket. This clip is really cool. We're gonna check the condensing fan motor one as well. Look at that old. It's got like actual stamping in it. 370. And notice it says 370 V nom. Volts nominal, 60 hertz. This is a 5UF. It's got an actual like paint stamp and a metal stamp. I'm guessing this one's also going to be good. These old ones that have that toxic oil that makes the bird eggs soft, like, they were really good capacitors. Okay, this one's actually low. Oh no, I just had a bad connection. 5.43. That's crazy. So they're both good. Okay, next up we're gonna watch the amp draw on one leg of this thing. When we switch the disconnect switch on. So the fan motor actually started that time. The compressor is not trying to start. I'm guessing the thermal limit is still on. So we need to get a garden hose over here and cool this down so it'll actually try, see what we're drawing for amps. So what I'm doing right here with the garden hose, just cooling down the compressor so that it'll actually, the thermal limit will close again. And I actually think I might have heard it close, but now the compressor will actually try to start because the little thermal switch inside there is closed again. So this time when we try it, it'll probably draw a really high amp rating. Hopefully nothing explodes. Oh. What? Oh. No, there's power there. Oh, the thermostat in the house. They must have shut off the thermostat, I guess. I don't know why they shut off the thermostat. I'll have to go see. Contactor kicked out, sent me on a little side quest, and the load management box is actually here. And they have a low voltage wire that runs all the way over to this end where it's tied in, and this one goes over to the furnace. but I think it finally came out of load management, so now we're going to go back out there and continue our testing. Okay, so now when we flip the switch, we should get a heavy amp draw, and hopefully nothing explodes. So, started right up. It's a little bit unbelievable. So, that could mean, oh wow, look how hot that condensing line is. I think that we just have a plugged condensing coil that needs to be cleaned really well, because the amp draw and heat will slowly creep up, causing the thing to shut down like that. So it probably just got so hot that it was having trouble getting rid of the heat. But wow, this old dog still works. So we won't have to add a hard start kit. We're gonna clean the condensing coil really well and see what we come up with. But you can tell this is really hot because it like won't even stay wet. Look at that. It dries off immediately. So condensing fan motor actually just dropped out. So I think we have a bad condensing fan motor. So I'm just running some water on the coil, but that's not gonna keep it cooled. So we're gonna just recheck the wiring here, make sure it's good. But unfortunately, I think we gotta put in a new condensing fan motor. So we're actually gonna try it with a new capacitor. I have seen before where a fan motor will start and run hot if the capacitor is for some reason disconnecting from the circuit. So we're gonna try it. Condensing fan motor did start up again right away. Let's let it go for a few minutes here, and if it ends up just randomly disconnecting, then there must be something wrong in the motor and we'll have to replace it. But these motors are not very simple to replace because of how they're mounted and where they're located. There's a good chance that we wouldn't be able to find a very good match for it. And you can see I did wash a ton of junk out. I need to rinse it off the bottom though. Glad I looked under here. But we'll let it go for a while, see what happens. So unfortunately, fan motor quit again. There's nothing cycling it on and off, as far as I can tell. Just comes in that conduit there. Got one lead to the capacitor and two to the main power. So there's not really anything else I can do. So it needs a new condensing fan motor. Something's wrong internally. It's causing it to overheat. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick the power off again and see if we can't pull the fan motor. So this thing is like a Swedish puzzle box or something. I guess it's an American puzzle box. But I was trying to figure out how in the world you get this shroud off to get at the motor. The motor is attached using these little tabs. See that? But the brackets themselves just like go up into here. There's no way to get at the bolt. This thing is riveted. I popped a rivet off there, but there's rivets back in there I can't get to, and there's a rivet down here. Took out some screws. Thought maybe you have to unwrap the shroud and then get at the bolts, but I think I just finally figured it out. So if you look right up in there, you can see there's this slot right here. It's full of like mud. I think that you twist the entire assembly and it falls out. That's all I can figure. And I realized right here there's a little locking bracket. So I think I just got to take this off and then twist this and it should drop out, which is really neat. I've never seen that before. I guess that must be attached to the foot. Rotating this. Dude, check that out. Never seen that before. That's actually really cool. That is honestly the most interesting fan motor mounting design I've ever seen. Looks like it's completely illegible, so we'll just have to go based kind of on the size if we're going to replace this thing. And we would have to cut these tabs off and just weld a motor to the tabs, because yeah, for whatever reason this thing just the motor's limit just keeps opening even though everything's perfect. So as far as looking up parts goes, here's the identification tag. What's that? 5476J01148. There's not going to be much to help us, so we pretty much just have to guess with the fan motor. So this is one of those situations where we've taken a refurbished used motor, and basically I just cut the tabs off of the original motor over there and welded the new motor to the tabs on here. It's very likely that this will outlast the air conditioner that we're putting it in, just because the one that we're putting it in is so old. It'd probably be a good idea to actually replace the system soon because it's kind of getting worn out, but I don't think that they have the money currently to replace the whole system, so this is the next best option for them. There's just no way that we're actually going to be able to find the proper motor for this. Plus the proper motor, since it's such an odd one, is probably going to be really expensive. And maybe I'm wrong, but there's just no legible markings left on the motor or the unit except for that serial number. So to track it down is going to take a lot of time, and then they're probably just going to say, oh yeah, that's been obsolete for like 10 years. So this, I think, is the best option. I'm going to put the fan blade on it, bench test it, make sure we're good to go, make sure it's spinning the right way, and then we'll take it back and slap it in. So thankfully we have a 220 volt plug here, so we can bench test the thing. And yeah, it looks like it's going to work. When you're welding it, it's extremely important to control your heat because you're welding on a motor, which is one reason you don't want to like do it to a brand new motor. I mean, you could probably get it to work. I just tacked it in one side and then dumped water on it immediately on a little piece of cloth to cool it down. Tacked it on the other side and then cooled it again, and then did the other feet, and then came back and did that small bead across each one. I don't think it's gonna come out. I think we're gonna be fine. One more look at that. That's so cool how that slide it underneath and then just lift it up and give it a quarter turn. Okay, so we got it anchored in place, put back in. It was kind of annoying to get in there, but not terrible, I guess. Got it all wired up. We're gonna go ahead and flip this thing on. There we go. There we are, good to go for another few months. This line's cold, just starting to sweat a little bit. This one's still fairly warm. Really good airflow through here though, so I don't think we're gonna have any problems. So, impressive little Lennox unit.